The egg that should never hatch. The wind was dry and full of ash. Everything around Jalen was broken. Metal, bones, old fire marks. He walked slowly through the ruins of a forgotten alien world, his boots crunching on black dust. He didn't come here for beauty. He came for scrap, for anything left behind after the war. His small scanning device blinked red. Nothing useful. Just more junk. He sighed, wiped sweat off his brow and kept moving. This planet had once been full of life. Tall trees, flying lights, soft songs in the wind. Now, it was dead and silent. But Jalen wasn't afraid. He had seen worse. He was a salvager, a human who lived by collecting old tech, lost items or forgotten treasures from the edge of the galaxy. Alone, fast, and careful. That's how he stayed alive. As he turned a corner, he noticed something strange. Half covered in ash and wires, there was a round object glowing faintly. An egg. He knelt slowly. It wasn't metal. It wasn't stone. It pulsed like it was alive. Soft orange light came from deep inside. "What are you?" he whispered. The surface felt warm, almost like skin. Thin lines ran along the shell, glowing lines that shifted when he moved. He looked around. No creatures, no guards, no sign of a nest. Then he saw it. Words, scratched into a burnt metal wall behind the egg. He wiped off the ash and read the warning out loud. "Do not let it see a human." His heart skipped. He looked down at the egg again. It pulsed faster now, like it heard his voice. Jalen knew better. This was a sign to leave it behind, but he didn't. Something about the egg felt familiar, like it was calling to him, not with sound but with feeling. "Just one look," he muttered, pulling a small scanner from his belt. The screen flashed once, then went black. "What?" He tapped the scanner. Nothing. Dead. That never happened. He reached out again. As his fingers touched the egg, a wave of heat passed through his skin and into his chest. His breath caught. Images, quick and strange, flashed in his mind. A hallway of white lights. A crying voice. A fire. He yanked his hand back. What the hell was that? He should have dropped it, walked away, sold the location to someone richer and better armed. But he didn't. He wrapped the egg gently in his jacket and placed it inside his gear bag. As he walked back to his ship, the egg stayed warm against his side. He didn't see the black shape that rose from deep below the ash, its red eyes glowing. Back on his ship, Jalen placed the egg on the table. He checked the doors. Locked. Air systems. Clean. He sat across from it and just stared. It didn't move. Didn't pulse. "Maybe it's nothing," he said, though his gut told him otherwise. He leaned back in his seat, arms crossed, eyes heavy. Outside, stars passed slowly. Space was quiet. He didn't know he was already being watched. A few hours later, Jalen woke with a sharp breath. The lights were dim. The room was cold. He blinked. Looked around. The egg was cracked. No. 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 He jumped to his feet. Small. Bits of shell were on the table, but the rest, gone. His ship was silent. Too silent. He reached for his blaster, moved slowly through the hallway. Who's there? No answer. Then, a soft sound. Breathing. From the shadows of the corner, something moved. Jalen raised his blaster. A small figure stepped out. She had smooth blue skin that shimmered like water. Her eyes were wide and glowing faint gold. Small, delicate, unsure, bare feet. Thin arms. She looked straight at him and spoke her first word. "Father." Jalen froze. His blaster shook in his hand. The child took one small step toward him. He couldn't move. Couldn't even think. "What are you?" he whispered. The girl tilted her head. Her voice was quiet but clear. "You hatched me." Then, the ship's emergency alarm began to beep. Something, or someone, had locked onto their location, and they were coming fast. Not a hatchling, not a monster. The alarm kept ringing, a deep red light flashing through the hallway. Jalen's ship had just been marked. Someone or something had found them. But that wasn't what kept his hands shaking. It was the girl. She stood in front of him, glowing faintly like the light inside her hadn't fully learned how to shine. Her eyes, those golden wide eyes, watched him without fear. Not a creature, hiding from a stranger, but something waiting for a name, waiting for a connection. "You hatched me," she said again, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Jalen blinked hard, still aiming his blaster. "No, I'm not your... Look, I didn't mean to..." The ship shook. Outside, a red light moved past the view window. Something large, metallic, and sharp-looking drifted just close enough for his motion sensors to ping. It wasn't a trader. It wasn't a rescue team. It was a hunter. Jalen grabbed the girl's hand without thinking. Her skin was soft, warm, and strangely calming. She didn't resist as he pulled her into the control room. The door slid shut behind them. "Listen," he said, heart pounding. "I don't know what you are, but someone's chasing you, and I need to know if I'm in danger." The girl tilted her head again. "Not danger, only me." "What?" "They want me," she said simply. "They hate what I am. They hate you too." He stared at her. Her words were broken, but clear. She wasn't just repeating sounds, she understood them. "Why would they hate me?" he asked, checking the scanner. The hunter ship was slowing down, holding distance, scanning. The girl touched the console with 2 fingers. The screen glitched, then cleared. Everything sharpened. The enemy ship's identity lit up. Jalen's breath caught. It was a corporate vessel. One that belonged to a lab he once worked for. Years ago, Jalen had been part of a secret research team on hybrid tech. They had studied alien DNA, tried to merge it with human traits. Not for peace, not for science, but for power, for war. He quit. After one experiment nearly killed a volunteer, he walked away, deleted his files, never looked back. But now, his past was staring at him with glowing eyes and calling him father. "You're one of them," he whispered. "You're from that project." The girl nodded slowly. "They made me. Then locked me in sleep. I waited. I waited for you." "Why me?" She placed her small hand on his chest. "Because you are the part they could not fake." Jalen stumbled back, mind racing. "They used my DNA. They made you from me?" "Yes," she said softly. "You're not just my father. You're my key." Before he could reply, the ship was hit with a low-frequency pulse. His systems flickered. The hunter ship had activated a lock, a warning shot. The next would be real. "They want you alive," Jalen muttered. But not her. The girl sat on the floor, curled her legs, and closed her eyes. Her skin began to glow brighter, strange symbols rising to the surface, like ink floating to the top of water. They moved, shifted, danced across her arms and neck. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Listening," she whispered. To what? He didn't know. But he didn't wait. He jumped into the pilot's seat and fired up the thrusters. The hunter ship fired a net. Jalen swerved, barely missing it. His ship's shields dropped to 30%. One more hit and they were dead. "Hold on," he shouted. The girl opened her eyes. "Go through the ice gate." Jalen blinked. "What gate?" She reached toward the nav screen. A small red dot appeared on the map, deep inside a frozen asteroid field. The coordinates weren't even on his chart. Hidden. "How do you know this?" he asked. "I remember," she said. "Mother told me before she went to sleep." "Your mother?" The girl nodded. "She is not like you, not human, but she loved you, and she gave me one mission." Jalen tightened his grip on the controls. As he turned the ship toward the ice gate. "What mission?" "Find you, survive, awaken what's inside." "Inside what?" The girl smiled softly. You. The ship dove into the icy field, jagged ice rocks slamming past the hull. The hunter ship followed slower, cautious. The gate was a frozen ring hidden between two spinning masses of shattered comet. Jalen pushed the engines. His ship barely made it through, scraping ice and metal. The enemy ship tried to follow, but the gate closed behind them with a burst of energy. Silence. The hunter was locked out. He collapsed into his seat, breathing hard. The girl stood beside him, calm. Safe. For now, she whispered. What do we do now? Jalen asked. She looked at him, her golden eyes steady. Now you remember. Now we wake up the part of you that made me. The mother and the memory, the cold silence of space returned. The ship floated in a hidden pocket behind the frozen gate, surrounded by shards of ancient ice that drifted like slow ghosts. Jalen stared through the front window, but his thoughts were far away, stuck on the little girl who sat quietly near the engine core, her knees pulled to her chest, golden eyes half closed. He hadn't spoken in 10 minutes, not because he had nothing to say, but because nothing made sense anymore. He had come here looking for scrap, and now he had a daughter he didn't know he had, a daughter created from his DNA, a daughter who claimed her mother had told her about him before she even hatched. His mind burned with questions. Finally, he spoke. Who is your mother? The girl looked up slowly. Her voice was calm, steady. She is queen of the Akari, but she was alone. They broke her body. She escaped with only one egg. Jalen leaned forward. The Akari. They're gone. I read the files. They were wiped out in the genetic wars. Not all, the girl whispered. My mother lived. She found what was left of your research. She chose you. He shook his head. I didn't choose this. I never agreed to make. You did. The girl said gently. Long ago. You just don't remember. Jalen stared at her. What are you talking about? She stood up and walked toward him. Her hands trembled slightly, but she reached out and touched his forehead with 2 fingers. His body tensed, and then he was somewhere else. Not on the ship. Not in the present. He stood inside a white lab, humming with energy. Sterile lights, clean walls and screens filled with alien symbols. He saw himself, young, wearing a researcher's uniform, laughing with a tall, elegant alien woman whose skin shimmered like starlight. She was unlike anything he'd ever seen, and yet in that moment, they looked close, familiar, even gentle. They were standing over an egg, the same egg. The woman placed her hand over Jalen's chest. He placed his over hers. You are brave, she said to him in a voice like wind and water. I choose you. Will you choose us? Yes, he answered, without hesitation. I will protect her. The memory broke like glass. Jalen gasped, pulling away. His heart pounded in his chest as he stumbled back into his seat. The girl caught him with surprising strength, keeping him from falling. You saw it? She said. No, that can't be real, he whispered. I don't remember this. I would have never agreed. They erased it, she said softly. After the war, they wiped many minds. They feared what you made together. Jalen stood in silence, his hands shaking. He wasn't just her father by blood. He had chosen to be her father. He had forgotten, but she had not. He sat down slowly, trying to breathe, trying to understand. Why me? He asked. Why would she choose a human? Why not one of her own? The girl looked away, her voice sad. Her kind was dying. No males survived. Your DNA. It was the last chance. He stared at her. So I'm not just your father, he whispered. I'm the bridge between 2 species. The girl nodded. You were the beginning. I am the next step. Before he could speak again, the console blinked. Incoming transmission. He pressed the screen, and the face that appeared made him stop breathing. It was her, the queen. Older now, pale, her once glowing skin dimmed by time and pain. She looked tired, scarred, but her eyes held power, the same golden glow her daughter now carried. "You found her," she said. Jalen swallowed hard. "You're alive." The Queen nodded slowly. "Barely. They have hunted me for years. They fear what she is. They will stop at nothing to end her." "Why me?" Jalen asked again. "Why pull me back into this?" Her voice trembled. "Because only you can unlock her full self. Only your presence allows her to grow, to awaken." The girl reached for his hand again, but Jalen pulled back. "Wait, what do you mean, grow? She's already changing." The Queen closed her eyes. "She is not complete. When she bonds fully to you, when you accept her without fear, she will begin the final phase." Jalen stepped back, heart racing. "And then what?" he asked. "What happens when she reaches this final form?" The Queen stared through the screen. "Then she becomes the seed, not just of our two bloodlines, but of a new kind of life." A sound cut through the ship's hull, a low, distant thump. Jalen looked at the sensors. Red light flashed again. The hunter ship had found the gate, and they were forcing it open. "They're coming," he said. The Queen's voice turned sharp. "You must protect her no matter what." "How?" The Queen stared directly at him, her eyes softening. "You already did. Once. Just remember." And with that, the signal cut. Outside, the frozen ice field began to shatter. Inside, the girl's skin pulsed with new light, and Jalen finally realized he was no longer running from his past. He was standing in the middle of it. Hunted across stars, the ice cracked open like brittle bone. Huge shards spun away into the dark, sending violent shudders through Jalen's ship. Alarms screamed from every console. The enemy had breached the gate. They were coming, and this time, they would not miss. Jalen leapt into the pilot's seat, hands racing over the controls. The girl held the edge of the console beside him, her small form swaying with each tremor. "They're not giving up," Jalen muttered. "They'll destroy us just to stop you." She didn't flinch. "Yes. Why?" He snapped. "You said they want me alive, but they're ready to blow this whole ship apart." Her voice was soft, almost sad. "If they can't cut me open, they'll burn everything." Jalen cursed under his breath. In the war zones he used to salvage, he had heard whispers about certain black-funded groups, scientific warlords who didn't just want to win battles but to control evolution itself. People who believed humans should sit at the top of every food chain, people who would burn a planet just to hide a failed experiment. And now, one of those failures was standing next to him, calling him father. He pushed the ship into full throttle. The engines roared to life. They blasted away from the icy field, spinning through sharp debris and ancient frozen metal. Behind them, the hunter ship surged forward like a silent predator. "I can't outrun them," Jalen said. "They're faster, better armed." "You're not alone," the girl whispered. Before he could ask what she meant, the air around them shimmered. Lights flickered. Then the ship's interface changed. Lines of alien code slid across the screen. The girl's fingers hovered just above the control panel, never touching it, yet somehow guiding it. "What are you doing?" Jalen asked. "Mother gave me the codes," she said. "They unlock old paths." Suddenly a new jump point opened. It wasn't marked on any of his maps, just a hole in space, flickering with unstable energy. No human ship would dare enter it without prep. "That could kill us," Jalen warned. She looked at him calmly. "Not if you trust me." He paused. Then, with a breath that shook in his chest, he nodded. "Take us through." The ship surged forward, folding into the hidden path just seconds before the enemy locked on. Behind them, the hunters shot, missed by inches, slamming into the ice and triggering a chain explosion that rocked the entire region. Inside the wormhole, everything turned silent. The stars vanished. Time stretched like liquid. Jalen clenched his jaw as the ship trembled, metal creaking from every side. And yet, he felt something else. Warmth. He turned his head. The girl stood still, eyes closed, glowing from within. He suddenly realized she wasn't afraid, she was leading. After a long silence, space returned. They burst out into a new system, one Jalen had never seen before. A small dying star blinked weakly in the distance. 5 moons drifted around a dead world below. "Where are we?" he asked, scanning the readings. The girl stepped forward. This was her home. "Your mother's?" She nodded. "Before, they erased it." As the ship moved closer to the surface, Jalen saw it. An ancient city carved into rock, buried under dust and stone. Broken towers reached up like fingers trying to touch the sky. The air was thin, but breathable. They landed, softly near what looked like a collapsed temple. Jalen stepped out with his gear, scanning the area. The girl followed behind him, slow but steady. "This is where she gave birth to the egg," the girl said. "This is where she cried the first time." Jalen looked at her. "You remember that?" "Not with my mind. With my blood." They moved inside the temple. Symbols covered the walls. Golden, swirling, familiar. Jalen blinked. He raised his sleeve and stared at the tattoo on his arm. A gift from a forgotten night during the war. It matched, the symbol above the altar. "You marked me," he whispered. "You marked us," the girl replied. He stepped forward. The altar hummed with faint energy. Suddenly, the ship's communicator buzzed. A signal. It was the Queen. She looked weak. Her voice barely held form. "They are moving fast. My world is dying. You must hurry." "What do we do?" Jalen asked. "You must protect the seed," she said, staring at her daughter. "When she completes the bond, she will rise." "Rise how?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "You mean change?" The Queen nodded. "Into what we always dreamed of. Not human. Not Akari. Something new, something powerful. They want to stop that, because they know your kind might love her, and if they do, she'll survive forever." Jalen's heart pounded. "You mean, she's not just a person, she's a future," the Queen said. "And they fear the future." The transmission cut off. Behind him, the girl collapsed to her knees, her skin glowing so brightly that it lit the entire temple. Her voice trembled. "It's starting." "What is?" he asked, dropping beside her. She grabbed his hand tightly. "The change. I need you. Your voice. Your name. Say it." "What?" "Say it like a father would." Jalen stared at her glowing face. His throat tightened. He didn't know why, but the words came out without thinking. "I'm here. I'm your father." The light burst from her chest like a sunrise. The temple shook. Outside, the stars bent, and Jalen knew. Every hunter ship would now feel that light. They would come faster than ever before. "She is becoming." The air inside the temple grew heavy. Every stone seemed to breathe, as if the ancient place had woken from a long sleep. The light pouring out of the girl was no longer just glow. It pulsed in waves, like heartbeat signals carried through space itself. Jalen backed away slightly, shielding his eyes, but he didn't let go of her hand. Her small fingers had changed. Longer now. Her skin, once smooth and faintly blue, had deepened into a swirling mix of gold and starlight. Patterns raced across her body, alive, moving like wind over water. She wasn't just changing, she was evolving. "What's happening to her?" Jalen asked out loud, even though no one answered. The temple responded instead. The walls echoed, with strange voices, singing in a tongue he didn't know but somehow understood. The symbols lit up one by one, syncing with the light from the girl's body. Above the altar, a floating stone broke open, revealing a hidden chamber deep within, the mountain. The girl rose from the ground not by standing but by hovering, her feet lifted untouched by dust. Her eyes opened slowly. They were no longer just golden. They were galaxies. And yet, when she looked at Jalen, he could still see the child beneath the starlight. "You stayed," she said, her voice soft, layered with echoes like multiple versions of her speaking at once. Jalen tried to speak, but his throat felt dry. "You said it," she whispered. "You said you were my father." He nodded. "I meant it." The girl smiled faintly, but her glow brightened again. Pain flashed across her face. She winced, gripping her chest. "Something's wrong," she muttered. Jalen ran forward, catching her as she dropped from the air. Her body felt warm, too warm. "What is it?" he asked. She gasped. "They found the signal. They're coming." Jalen activated his comms. His ship's sensors confirmed it. 3 hunter ships had entered orbit, not just scouts this time, killers. His heart raced. "We have to leave now." The girl shook her head. "No. If I leave now, the change will stop. I'll stay like this. Incomplete. Fragile." "Then what do we do?" Jalen asked, looking around. The temple walls shimmered. The chamber above opened fully and a long staircase lit up. "We go deeper," the girl said. "To the nest, where she made me." Jalen hesitated. "What's in there?" She looked up at him with eyes too old for her face. The rest of her. They moved together through the stairs, deeper into the mountain. The path twisted, walls humming softly. The temperature dropped. Their breath fogged. Jalen kept his blaster ready, though he knew bullets wouldn't help against what was coming. After what felt like hours, they reached a round chamber filled with glowing stones, each pulsing like eggs. In the center, floating above a pedestal, was a crystal heart. It wasn't beating, but it hummed, like it was waiting. "This is what she left behind," the girl said. "Her last breath, her last love. For me. For you." Jalen stepped closer. Symbols appeared on the pedestal. One of them shimmered with strange light. He froze. It matched the exact shape of the old tattoo on his arm. The one he'd gotten on a drunken night after the war. The one he never remembered choosing. "This symbol," he whispered. "What is it?" The girl stood beside him. "It's your promise." He reached out slowly, touched the symbol. The crystal heart shined brighter, and then with a deep pulse, merged into the girl's chest. She screamed, not in pain, but in release. Light burst outward, rising through the temple, into the sky, up through the clouds, and into space. On Jalen's ship, every sensor lit up red. The hunter ships had turned. They were coming in fast, and they were ready to kill. Jalen grabbed the girl, now barely conscious. Her form had changed again, taller, her features sharper, her skin glowing with the colors of a nebula. Her voice trembled. "They fear what I'm becoming." He held her tightly. "They should." She looked up at him. "They will try to take me, and you. Then they'll learn the hard way," he said. "I may not remember everything, but I know one thing for sure." He turned toward the stairway, blaster in one hand, the girl leaning on his shoulder. "You're my daughter." The chamber rumbled. Above them, the sound of engines roared. Enemy ships had breached the upper atmosphere. As they climbed toward the surface, Jalen saw flames through the cracks in the rock, and he knew. This time, there would be no running. The last nest fire lit the horizon as the first hunter ship pierced the clouds, its dark hull stretching like a blade across the sky. Heat waves rolled over the temple ruins and pieces of stone cracked and collapsed under the pressure. Jalen stood at the entrance, sweat on his brow, heart pounding like a drumbeat of war. Beside him, the girl, his daughter, his impossible legacy, stood taller now, glowing, radiant, but still unfinished. Her hands trembled. Not from fear, but from the weight of what she was becoming. "How many ships?" she asked quietly, her voice now layered with something deeper, ancient, vast, almost like she carried a choir inside her chest. "3, Jalen replied. "2 flanking from above. One's landing." They both knew what that meant. The one, landing, wanted her alive. The other two were backup in case she resisted, or in case Jalen interfered. "They'll come for you first," she whispered. "Let them try," Jalen said, locking a new power cell into his blaster. She looked at him, her eyes glowing soft. "You can't stop them." "Maybe not," he said. "But I can slow them down." Suddenly her hand reached out and gripped his. Her touch was firmer now, like the child he met had fully stepped into something larger than herself. "You're not alone," she said. "This nest, it still breathes." Before Jalen could respond, the ground below them shifted. The floor cracked open, and soft pulses of light emerged from beneath the stone. Dozens of tiny glowing orbs began to rise from the cracks, each one warm, humming faintly. "What is this?" Jalen asked, stepping back. "Echoes," she said. "Her last memories. The Queen left pieces of herself behind. For me. For you." As the orbs floated higher, they began to merge together, forming a dome of light around the temple. The moment it took shape, the hunter ships above paused. They scanned the structure. Then one of them sent down a rapid drop assault team, 6. Armored figures landed hard on the surface with a thunderous crash. Black suits, pulse rifles, scanning visors. Not mercenaries, not bounty hunters. These were Reapers, high-level tactical units trained to capture or destroy advanced life forms. Jalen crouched near a broken wall, aiming his rifle through a crack. "They're coming. Let me go," the girl said. "If I face them, they might spare you." "Don't even say that," he growled. "You think I came this far just to hand you over? You think I want to see you die for me?" Her voice broke a little, still strong but now fragile at the edges. He turned and looked at her fully. "You're not just some lab creation, not just a weapon. You're life and love and choice. You're my daughter, and no one takes that from me." A single tear rolled down her cheek, glowing, not wet. Then the first Reaper appeared in the doorway, scanning the interior. Jalen fired. The shot hit center mass, but the armor absorbed it. The Reaper returned fire, but Jalen ducked just in time. Before the next shot came, the girl stepped into the open. She lifted her hand. Her skin flared with radiant heat, and her voice rang like a chime across the stone. "Enough!" The Reaper froze. So did the air. One by one, the other soldiers emerged, but they didn't attack. Their visors glitched. One of them dropped his weapon. Another stepped back, confused. "What are you doing to them?" Jalen whispered. "I'm reaching," she said. "Not into their minds, into their memories. Showing them who I really am." The light around her body exploded into soft waves. For a moment, even Jalen saw visions. Flashes of the Queen holding the egg. Jalen whispering promises into its shell. A dying star reborn through the merging of two species. It wasn't just science. It was soul. And it broke something inside. The Reapers. Two of them fell to their knees. But the lead Reaper stepped forward, raising his gun, voice cracking through the helmet speaker. "You're a threat, a violation of order." "No," the girl said, calm. "I'm the answer to your fear." He fired. Jalen moved before he could think. He took the shot. The pulse blast hit him square in the side, sending him flying into the altar wall. Pain lit his body like fire. The girl screamed, not in fear, but in fury. Her glow changed. It wasn't light anymore. It was storm. Winds howled through the broken stone. The sky split with sound. The ground lifted beneath her feet. Her hair lifted like fire and her voice cracked open the air. "You will not take him from me." The Reapers were blasted off their feet. Their armor cracked. Their systems shorted out. Jalen gasped for air, struggling to rise. The girl knelt beside him. "Don't go." His voice was weak. Not planning to, she placed her hand on his wound. Golden lines spread from her fingers, knitting flesh and bone. As she healed him, she wept. "I was made to survive," she said, "but not without you." His hand touched hers. "Then let's finish this. Together." Above them, the queen's last energy, stored in the ancient crystals of the nest, pulsed brighter than ever. The girl turned toward the sky, eyes blazing. "I'm not a threat," she whispered. "I'm the future." And this time, the stars listened. The girl who remade the stars, the wind had stopped. The fire in the sky had faded. The reapers were gone, some unconscious, some running. The black ships above had turned, drifting uncertainly as if their command had been broken. Inside the old temple, silence returned, but it was not the same silence that had filled this place for centuries. This silence was warm, living, the kind that comes just before a rebirth. Jalen sat against the altar stone, his side freshly healed, but still aching. The girl sat beside him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. Her body had stopped glowing, but it wasn't because the light was gone. It was now inside everything around her. The stone, the air, the sky. It was part of the nest. "You changed them," Jalen said softly. She nodded, not lifting her head. "I didn't want to destroy them. I wanted them to see." "See what?" "That I am not what they feared. I am what they forgot how to hope for." He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply. Her words didn't sound like a child's anymore. They sounded like the beginning of something older than war, older than even the hatred that built those hunter ships, but she was still his daughter, and when he looked at her, that's who he saw. "What happens now?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. The girl lifted her eyes to the open sky above. Golden, clouds had formed where fire once reigned. The cracks in the sky had sealed. Even the broken moon above the planet seemed still. "I finished what she started," she said. "The queen gave me life. You gave me meaning. Now it's time to give something back to the galaxy." Jalen stood with her. His balance was shaky, but her hand in his steadied him. Together they stepped outside the temple, and for the first time, Jalen saw what had changed. Life. Green vines curled up through cracks in the stone. Light poured from the ground like breath. The air, once thin and dusty, now smelled faintly of flowers, flowers that shouldn't even exist anymore. "How?" Jalen whispered. "This planet remembers," she replied. "It just needed something to believe in." As she walked toward the center of the ruined courtyard, her steps left faint trails of glowing blue. Every stone she touched healed. Every shadow she passed filled with color. Jalen followed her, watching. From the sky above, the lead hunter ship sent one last message. Target unknown. Threat assessment unresolved. Standing down. Final order, observe. They didn't dare attack. Again. They didn't understand what she was, and that's what made them afraid. But now, fear was no longer enough. Jalen helped her build a new signal tower using parts from his own ship. She connected it with her own energy, and from it a message was sent, not in words but in feelings, a wave of warmth, of peace, of memory. Across nearby star systems, those who felt it stopped in silence. Some cried, others fell to their knees. Some reached out and answered. Not all, but enough. The seed had been planted. Days passed. Then weeks. The temple became something more, a living archive. Others came, not many at first, a few exiles, some rebels, a broken scientist who thought she had lost everything, an old enemy who left his rifle at the edge of the gate. They came not because of a war, but because they were tired of war. They came for the girl who glowed like the sun and the man who stood beside her. Jalen never asked for followers. Neither did she. But people followed anyway, because every time she touched the ground it bloomed. Every time she smiled, someone remembered how to hope. One evening, under a sky filled with newborn stars, Jalen sat with her by a glowing lake. Her reflection shimmered in the water, half girl, half light. "Do you miss her?" he asked. "Every day," she whispered. "But she lives in me, and now, in you." He looked at her, still amazed by how far they had come. "What should I call you?" I never gave you a name. She looked at him and smiled. You already did. He blinked. When? She touched his chest, just over his heart. When you said I'm your father, I felt it. My name grew from that moment. He laughed gently, still confused. And what is it? She leaned against him and said, Illyra. It means light born of choice. He wrapped his arm around her and held her close. It fits, he said. They sat together as the stars above shifted. Illyra pointed upward. One day, others will come. Like me. Different. Afraid. Lost. Jalen nodded. What will we do then? She looked at him with golden eyes that held the sky. We'll call them home. Years later, stories spread through the outer systems. A place where warships lowered their weapons. A temple where the air heals the sick. A girl who walks barefoot through gardens made from stone. And beside her, a man with old eyes and quiet strength. They say he was once a scavenger. Now they call him Father of the Second Dawn.